Hi everyone, thanks for watching and welcome to my top 10 films of 2014. So, before we get started, there's a few ground rules, as boring as that sounds, but I kind of need to talk about it. Um, Forgive me, 'cause I'm looking at my notes as well. Um, Basically, um, anything that was nominated for an Oscar this year, so 12 Years a Slave, American Hustle, Wolf of Wall Street, Inside Llewyn Davis, all films that I really like. They're not going to be included. Not just because of the Academy Awards season that they all did a parade around, but because they were all released technically in 2013. So this holds me back quite a bit. I seen Lucas Moodysson's We Are the Best this year, which I absolutely adored. However, that was released in Sweden in 2013, so that's not going to be included. Um, Snowpiercer, which is one of my favourite films of recent years, which had a US release this year, Korean release the year before. Um, so, unfortunately, with there being no UK release, and this list being about UK releases this year, I can't include Snowpiercer, which somewhat depresses me. Also, if there's any Americans watching, you might be wondering where Whiplash, Foxcatcher, Birdman, A Most Violent Year, things like that are. Fact is, they're not on the list because they weren't released this year. We're going to get those films next month. Um, so, again, this has been a hard list to condense, which is a good thing. This means it's been a good year. So there's films that didn't make it, such as from early on the year, Tracks, uh, with Mia Wasikowska and Adam Driver, which I like very much. The Jack O'Connell double bill of Starred Up and 71, two films that I admire greatly, didn't make it. Edge of Tomorrow, for my money, the best blockbuster of the summer. The Rover, David Michôd's apocalyptic Australian thriller, which is a wonderful piece of work. Marvel's best film was released this year, and no, it wasn't Guardians of the Galaxy, it was The Winter Soldier, which was very close to making the list, but again, not so successful. There was Cavalry, Brendan Gleeson's best performance, an emotional kick in the heart, face, teeth of a film. So there's a lot of films I'd like to include this year. However, there's only 10 spots. So let's go. Number 10, somewhat controversially, as it was a bit under the radar, it's Adam Wingard's The Guest. The Guest was hilarious, it was frightening, it was quite alarming, it was a bit sick, but The Guest was a brave film. I like Adam Wingard very much. I think him and Simon Barrett, co-writing, their partner, are onto something big. They're remaking I Saw the Devil next, which I'm very looking forward to. But The Guest starred Dan Stevens, who came straight from Downton Abbey, and he became this unbelievably malicious, twisted yet charming presence. It was beautifully fused with a lot of 80s kind of iconography. Great soundtrack. Love The Guest. Number 9 is Frank, Lenny Abrahamson. Kind of unleashed this weird, offbeat, tragic musical comedy in which Domhnall Gleeson goes on tour with a band. He became one of the most despicable characters of the year, and Michael Fassbender spent 95% of the film behind the giant paper head, and yet stole the show. We've got number 8 is Jennifer Kent's The Babadook. A little known, little seen, unfortunately, Australian horror film, which incorporated all kinds of themes from depression to family dysfunction to repression. It was beautifully lit. It was paying homage from everyone to Kubrick, to David Lynch, to F.W. Murnau. It was Nosferatu, it was The Shining, it was glorious. Number 7 is Blue Ruin, Jeremy Saulnier's revenge flick. It clocked in at 90 minutes with a great central performance from Macon Blair. It's got this eerie, wordless opening, 15-20 minutes that sets the tone, and you really don't know where it's going. And by the end of it, you kind of wish you didn't know. It's very brutal. It's aggressive. It's tragic, and it was a front runner for my film of the year. Number 6 is Gareth Evans' The Raid 2. I was a huge fan of The Raid. I think Gareth Evans is the greatest action director working today. The Raid 2 is the godfather of action films. It's expansive, it's violent, it pays homage in the right way. It's Scorsese-esque in its underground, red lit clubs. The characters were larger than life. It always sidestepped novelty and cliche just by being that smart and that impressive. So that's number 6. Number 5 is Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. Interstellar was many things. It was baggy, it was pompous, it was just under 3 hours long, which is tough going for any film. It also happened to be genius. I don't use that word lightly. It was a spectacle in the truest sense of the word. This was a landmark in cinema experience, which of course is not enough to warrant it as high up on the list. It did have other things going for it. It was Christopher Nolan's most personal film. It was deeply emotional. Matthew McConaughey was absolutely marvellous as the central character. It threw some surprise at you and had some of the most remarkable visuals. That's the cat. Remarkable visuals I've seen in a cinema for a long, long time. I saw it on the IMAX, and it was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in a cinema. Number 4 is David Fincher's Gone Girl. Gone Girl was remarkable for a few reasons. It's still got a cinema run now, so it shows you the effect that it's had. It's also a mainstream release that focuses upon a dark, twisted, domesticated fantasy. It was violent, it was uncompromising, it fixated around gender politics, identity, the idea of us not really knowing the people that we think we know. It had a stunning central performance from Rosamund Pike. Ben Affleck just carried on proving what a terrific talent he actually is. And it was just David Fincher through and through. It was offbeat, it was funny, very funny. People forget how humorous Gone Girl actually is. And I think it's going to be an important chapter in mainstream cinema, as it kind of proved that a mainstream audience are up for the darker side of things if you just give it to them. So now top 3. Number 3 is Boyhood, which is going to be a surprise to no one that Boyhood's on this list. There's nothing I can say really about Boyhood that's not been said before. It's a remarkable piece of work by Richard Linklater. It was 12 years in the making, which would have been so easy to turn that into a novelty, to show that off constantly, to try and fixate the film around that. And it never at any point goes, look how impressive we are, look how smart we are, how intelligent we're being. It's just a stripped down portrayal of a life. And that sounds very vague, but again, the film kind of is. And also, it has my performance of the year from Patricia Arquette, who held that film together for long periods. Okay, so number 2 is Dan Gilroy's Nightcrawler. I absolutely love Nightcrawler, and it probably would have been number 1 in any of the year. It was an incredibly important film, in the same way that Gone Girl was, with its idea of deconstructing relationships and what they mean. Nightcrawler kind of deconstructed this, the economic society that we currently find ourselves in. It was a poisoned American dream, much in the same way Scarface was. It's got an unbelievable central performance from Jake Gyllenhaal. who became this weird mix of Travis Bickle and Rupert Pupkin of Scorsese films, Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. It had a terrific car chase that was edge of seat stuff, and Gyllenhaal's character Lou Bloom is now the poster boy for the managerial speak that is taken over our society. He is someone who will take whatever he wants and yet speak in the most vaguest of terms to get it. He's a politician, basically. Lou Bloom is the politician of our times. And number one is Under the Skin. It says a lot that I've seen Under the Skin quite a while ago now, and yet it's still with me very vividly. Scarlett Johansson has had a great year. We've seen her everything from The Winter Soldier, in which she's arguably the best thing in it, to Lucy, which I like very much, and to Under the Skin, in which she turned in a performance that was so un-Hollywood. It was so free of ego, and it's an incredible commentary on everything from morality to identity to how we treat one another, to social integration. It also contained the scene on a beach, which is the most haunting scene I have seen in a cinema for I don't know how many years. It was extremely frightening. Jonathan Glazer has created this unbelievably horrible dystopian kind of world, and then you realise that it's just Scotland, and which is not a dig at Scotland. It's just how our cities, the urban decay of our cities can look when put under a certain light. It was an unbelievably impressive film. I still think after next year, Under the Skin will still stand up as being one of the best films, even after all the upcoming releases. It truly is a remarkable performance by Scarlett Johansson, and she is probably my performer of the year. So, yep, there you go. So, number 10, The Guest. Number 9, Frank. 8, The Babadook. 7, Blue Ruin. 6, The Raid 2. 5, Interstellar. 4, Gone Girl. 3, Boyhood. 2, Nightcrawler. And 1, Under the Skin. So, I'll be back in the new year with a flurry of Oscar releases that pretty much everyone has already seen anyway, but that's what happens when you live in the UK with the release dates. So, just want to say thanks to everyone who's read the review, even clicked on a link to watch the video, to listen to anything I had to say. I really appreciate it, and so thank you very much, everyone. Have a Merry Christmas, and go check out those movies.